The year 1930.
Unexplained time travel. Nancy's hands aren't visible here, which means she drives with her hands on the bottom half of the steering wheel.
Well, hello. I'll bet my bloomers you're Nancy Drew.
Jane's bloomers.
I'm Emily's guardian, but only for the next 3 months until she turns 18. Then she's on her own.
Jane openly admits she's going to abandon Emily as soon as possible. Jane is a jerk.
Pies are the Lilac Inn specialty. We get orders from all over. Oh, that reminds me your father called.
Pie orders remind Jane of Nancy's father. This puzzle. This puzzle reused from game number 4. This puzzle. This puzzle reused from game number 5. Pluto was discovered in February of 1930, not April. Nancy knows which room belongs to Emily without being told. Why do they call it Lilac Inn if it's mostly a restaurant? That's like naming your clothing store Mike's Library. The inn portion of Lilac Inn has 4 rooms. One is Emily's, one must be Jane's, and one must be a bathroom. So there's only 1 room available at the inn. No wonder they're going broke.
Shh!
Emily's hand is Linda's werewolf hand, reused from the previous game.
It's beautiful.
Jewelry reused from game 8. What is Emily looking at here? This animation of Emily is reused from the opening cutscene. We're not even 5 minutes into the game and they're already reusing animation. This makes 3 games in a row with ruined kitchens. Why does Her Interactive hate kitchens so much? The kitchen is a crime scene that Nancy can't investigate. Nancy zooms in on this particular area for no apparent reason. Nancy goes into the room to check on Emily, and now she's standing behind Emily. Who walks past a person to check them out from behind? Emily is standing up here, now she's sitting down. Emily's unmoving legs.
Who's Josiah Crowley?
Josiah Crowley is Nancy's excuse to completely ignore the sabotage mystery for 90% of the game.
Maybe you could go talk to him. Please? It would be such a big help.
Nancy does everyone else's chores cliché. Nancy follows a scavenger hunt to fabulous treasure cliché. I know I said this in the previous video, but I still don't know if this game is called Secret of the Old Clock or The Secret of the Old Clock. The title screen and the other title screen disagree with each other.
Got it. Looks like someone recently had a key appraised.
2 months ago isn't all that recent, Nancy.
Over here, Miss Drew. Find the toy mouse and give it to Erie, would you please? Otherwise, he'll just keep meowing. He hates strangers.
Mr. Topham is creepy and weird. Topham needs a top hat to cover up his unruly hair.
I'm afraid I cannot speak to you further unless and until you prove that you are worthy. That is, that your brainwaves are not unacceptably inferior and thus deleterious to mine.
Topham is a jerk.
Deleterious.
Why does Topham have a dead parrot?
Looks like Josiah lent a trivet to someone, but I can't make out to whom.
Nancy doesn't know who has the trivet, but if you visit Twin Elms, she magically knows the right person to talk to. The notebook in the elephant contains a clue for how to get the notebook in the elephant.
Am I smart or what? Am I smart or what? I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Nancy's dialogue reused from Game 9.
Am I smart or what?
Nancy's reaction to solving kindergarten-level puzzles.
Did you hear about the explosion and fire at the Lilac Inn this morning?
Topham's arms jump from place to place.
I'm going to poke around some more, if that's okay.
I don't mind.
Why is Topham's dialogue on the same line as Nancy's?
Let's have a look.
Topham's puzzle has 5 pages, but he only flips 3 of them when checking Nancy's solution.
Oh, a miniature golf course! Swell!
This puzzle! Josiah charged himself money to use his own private golf course. If your golf ball is at the edge of the screen, it's impossible to hit it a long distance.
I hit it too hard.
Nancy says this even when the ball goes into the hole. You have to watch this entire animation every single time you make this shot. Tiny Town has 3 buildings. Not much of a town, if you ask me.
Oh, horse feathers.
Nancy says as she makes the shot. How does the golf course keep track of how many strokes you make? Are there time-traveling computer chips inside each golf ball? Why can't Nancy just cheat her way to victory with this challenge? Nobody's watching her! Mr. Archer doesn't do anything besides read the newspaper all day long. No wonder his bank doesn't have any money.
When he named me executor, he said he'd tell me where it was hidden when the time was right. Whatever that meant.
He gave us a clock, and afterwards, he'd always point to it and get this little twinkle in his eye and say, "Time will tell."
Josiah left multiple people with clocks and the clue, when the time is right, yet nobody besides Nancy realizes those two things are related.
He'd hidden it in a chest of drawers in his house. It took me months to find it.
Mr. Archer is awful at hide and seek.
Hello again.
I never left. Nobody besides Nancy is suspicious of the will that Topham found. This puzzle. This map doesn't have useful locations on it. This town has more businesses than homes. Where do people live? The expensive manor is located right next to a dairy. The infuriating sorting puzzle you get if you run out of gas. The cursor resets to the middle of the text box after every bit of dialogue, forcing you to constantly move the mouse out of the way so you can read the text. The Trivet fetch quest is overly long and complicated. Nancy has to do a chore in order to do a chore after doing a chore in order to do a chore in order to get the trivet that doesn't belong to Mrs. Sheldon in the first place. Everyone in town is lazy and expects Nancy to do their work for them.
The switchboard is in her parlor.
That is clearly not a living room. Phelps leaves all of his fishing gear at the fishing hole, where anyone can take it. Nancy has unlimited bait.
I like this dress. It's very flouncy.
The game forces me to look up flouncy in the dictionary.
I guess I should answer that. Hello?
Nancy?
Dad?
Nancy's dad just happens to call at the exact same second she arrives. Dad gives Nancy a long lecture on driving, even if Nancy is already driven. In addition to Dad's lecture on driving, there is Nancy's notebook entry on driving, and a tutorial just for driving. That's 3 separate driving tutorials. Calm down, game. We get it.
I think it was from the person who has always told me that the best way to solve a problem is to look at all the possibilities. Dad.
Does Nancy hate her dad? She's kind of a jerk to him. Nancy finds a hidden passageway cliché. Nancy finds the hidden passageway because the culprit moved the curtain here. Culprit foils their own plot. This puzzle.
Never forget the night it all began. That dark, stormy, fateful night when I decided the time had come to rid the world of the creature.
For a record called Creepy's Corner, it's not that creepy, it's more weird. The needle doesn't move at all when Nancy plays the record.
Seeing that the door was unlocked, I hurled it open.
That's the sound of politely opening a door, not hurling it open.
The fiercest sword fight the world had ever known.
That does not sound like a fierce sword fight. This puzzle. If you leave the carriage door and come back, it magically saves your progress. Doors don't work like that in real life. How does this machine know if you put the correct dominoes in the right spots? This was built with 1930s technology. You have to watch this entire cutscene every time you go upstairs. Marshall's band leads to a notebook, not a last will and testament. This note is a lie. Topham, Gloria, and Emily all failed to notice the key in this hat. This puzzle.
You are going to help me prove that I am telepathic.
Playing with cards proves nothing, and even if it did, nobody's around to see it. Quit wasting my time, Topham. This animation of Nancy driving plays every single time you leave the inn.
Well, my name's Nancy Drew, and my father said
Say no
that...
more. You're here to pick up some papers.
Tubby interrupts Nancy. Tubby is a jerk. What would Tubby do if Nancy didn't come along? All of those telegrams would sit there undelivered forever. Nobody gives Nancy a tip. The game gets your hopes up for nothing. 70% of the money you make delivering telegrams has to be spent on gas.
Welcome to Zippy's, where zipless service is zippily zapped and zippy service is the zippiest.
You have to hear this entire speech every time you get gas.
Oh, go dry up, Jason!
You can tell me I'm all wet, but
I won't let you down or double-cross you or anything.
I'm trying to doll up some of my plants before this guy named Mr. Martin comes in. He's a big cheese at some oil company, and I'm hoping he... Ow!
The Telegram people go out of their way to give you the answers to Topham's puzzle.
Did that plant just bite you?
It did kind of feel that way.
Feed me Seymour.
Jim Archer is so sad he temporarily destroys the text box. Nancy never encounters any other cars while driving. Is the town that empty?
Well, just because I've never solved a mystery before doesn't mean I can't. Anyway, there's no harm in trying, right? Who knows? I might turn out to be good at it.
Dramatic irony. This puzzle. Once again, Nancy has to do a chore in order to do a chore. Every pie looks exactly the same. Why did Jane write this note to herself? Does she have that much trouble remembering where the entrance is hidden? Jane said the phone line was burned up in the fire, but you find the burned phone at her podium. Either she lied, or she moved the remains of the phone to her podium for some reason. You can't see this clue to the mirrors puzzle unless you've already solved the mirrors puzzle, making the clue pointless. After you pull the lantern here, the cord disappears.
Jeepers, I'm behind one of the walls in Emily's room.
Emily leaves the phonograph playing when she's not in her room.
What's cooking?
Nothing, because the kitchen has been destroyed. Nancy tells Jane about the passageway, but not Emily.
She went into town to run some errands.
Emily goes into town, but when she returns, she's still in her pajamas. Either she wore her pajamas into town, or she changed back into them as soon as she got home. I'm worried about her wardrobe decisions. Question should have a question mark. By coincidence, this letter from the real Jane mentions Jane's imposter by name. This puzzle.
Would I wear this? No.
You're not wearing it, so stop whining, Nancy. Nancy's standards for this dress are way too high, considering that she's working for free. Nancy has unlimited tries with the sewing puzzle. In real life, sewing machines don't work like that.
Would it be okay if I kept this?
If it was money or jewelry or something like that, I'd turn it over to Topham. But a journal? Finders keepers as far as I'm concerned.
Jim Archer dismisses the journal as unimportant without even looking at it. Thisbe is misspelled. What on earth is going on behind Topham? A disco party?
Well, soon they will no longer be my problem, but the sheriff's.
Topham's mouth isn't synced with his dialogue. Wow, good thing the newspaper timed its article on hobo sign language with Nancy's visit. Otherwise, this puzzle would be impossible. Solving this puzzle on the clock somehow sets this thing on fire, which gives you a golf ball. What? How? Why? More mini golf? Nancy could have gotten a hole-in-one here the entire time?
Who's Clara?
Clara Pickford is this lonely old woman who comes in here every once in a while. Took a shine to me for some reason. Insisted on giving me that picture.
Jim Archer has a framed photograph of a woman who is not his wife. I don't care if she gave it to you, Jim. That's creepy. The newspaper on the desk disappears when Nancy puts the key down.
I had to ace one of the holes.
Why does that sound familiar?
Just think, if Nancy hadn't used that particular slang term, this game wouldn't have ended.
Clara Pickford was really Josiah Crowley in disguise.
And no one noticed.
Wonder what this is. Gloria Dow.
Nancy spent the entire game hunting down this will. She never reads the will because she gets distracted by a picture. Josiah helpfully left behind a picture of Jane Willoughby with his will, just in case somebody happened to be impersonating her at the time the will was found.
Jane Willoughby? That doesn't look the least bit like Jane Willoughby.
Of course not. That's a photo of a real person, not a computer character. I can't tell which one is Jane and which is Gloria.
Move out of the way, would you please? I'm kind of in a hurry.
Jane easily drives past Nancy here, which means Nancy's not in her way. Why is Jane in such a hurry? Nancy knows Jane is a culprit at this point. Why didn't Nancy come with the police to arrest her?
Can't let Jane out of my sight.
This puzzle. Newspaper articles reused from Newspaper in Den. Jane is trying to escape from Nancy, but she deliberately drives slowly enough for Nancy to catch up with her. Why does Nancy have to bother following Jane? There's only one exit out of town. Nancy should go there directly and cut her off. This is a cute ending, but we didn't load that many pies into the truck. How did Nancy get this picture of Topham? Because that's from the game over scene.
Anyway, when you get home, I'll give you all the details over a nice big piece of slightly damaged cherry pie.
Nancy kept the pies that crashed onto Jane? The pie can't be that delicious, can it?
She pretended to be Jane not only so she could steal Emily's valuables, but so she could convince Emily that she was incapable of running Lilac Inn, and that she should sell it and split the money with her.
If Jane's plan was to make money from the inn, why did she blow up the kitchen? A restaurant without a kitchen is not valuable.
Oh, horse feathers.